How does human communication work? Human communication can be understood through the concept of codes. What are codes? Simply, a code is a system of signs that have been choreographed into a structure that has obeyed the rules of visual communication. Rules of codes, what are usually termed as conventions, have been developed by the progression of time. There are two fundamentals to the structure of a sign, and they are the signifier and the signified. According to Ferdinand de Saussure, who devised these two terms. In John Fix's book, Introduction to Communication Studies, he talks about Saussure's model, and this is what he says. The sign for Saussure was a physical object with meaning, or to use his term, a sign consisted of a signifier and a signified. The signifier is the sign's image as he perceived it, the marks on the paper or the sound in the air. The signified is the mental concept of which it refers. This mental concept is broadly common to all members of the same culture who share the same language. In this image shows an illustration of Saussure's model of conventions between the parts of the sign and is referent to the reality to which the sign refers to. Alongside Saussure's model of the sign, there are Charles Saunders Peirce's model, where Saussure only analysed the functions of linguistic signs known as symbols. Peirce expanded this model to include visual signs, he termed icons and index. In Daniel Chandler's book, Semiotics, the Basics, he describes these three types of sign: the symbol, icon, and index. Firstly, the symbol, a sign in which the signifier does not resemble the referent, but which is fundamentally arbitrary or purely conventional, so that the relationship must be learned. For example, language in general, plus specific language, alphabetic letters, punctuation marks, word phrases and sentences, or numbers, Morse code, traffic lights, or national flags. Next there is the icon, a sign in which the signifier is perceived as resembling or imitating its referent, recognizably looking, sounding, feeling, tasting, or smelling like it, being similar in possessing some of its qualities, for example a portrait, a cartoon, a scale model, onomatopoeia, metaphors, and realistic sounds in music for TV programs, sound effects in radio drama, and a dubbed film soundtrack or emotive gestures. Lastly, the index, a sign in which the signifier is not arbitrary but is directly connected, caused by its referent. This link can be observed or inferred, for example, natural signs like smoke, thunder, footprints, echoes, or non-synthetic odours and flavours. Medical symptoms, pain, a rash, or a heightened pulse rate, measuring instruments, a weathercock, a thermometer, a clock, or a spirit level, and signals, a knock on the door, a phone ringing, or the pointers, a pointing index finger, a directional signpost, or a recording like a photograph, a film, a video, television shot, or an audio recorded voice, personal trademarks, handwriting, or a catchphrase, and indexical words, that, this, here, and there. How do signs and codes operate in social context? Codes within society have three important functions. which can be understood as the representational function, compositional function, and the modal function. The representational function deals with the content, something that is represented by text or image. The image can be used to impart information to understand the situation, like a map, for instance. Is a system of signs that give geographical information with keys to code the system. The London Underground map, which was designed by Harry Beck in the 1930s. The topographical simplistic design that gives the viewer the information they need to get about. Stories are representational. We tell others about what we experience and share in other experiences. Stories can be told in different ways. Next, the compositional function. The image is organized to emphasize aspects of the subject. The content of this story is about a ring that is composed, that is, the visual element have been carefully chosen so to make the story more interesting. Which leads us to the modal function, how the subject is composed in will, the mood and attitude of the viewer towards the subject matter. These three functions work in harmony to communicate. Slight differences in colour or composition can change a mood about what is being represented within the image. With the function of codes explained, it just leaves their uses in culture. Cultural codes are widely spread throughout the world. And what are cultural specific codes? There are a lot of cultural specific codes, like certain colours being symbols. For codes in cultures like chakras, part of the esoteric Eastern beliefs that each chakra has its own colour and meaning, like Muladhara, which is symbolised by the lotus, which is red, known as the root chakra. There is also the purple chakra, which is symbolised by the purple lotus, named Ajna, symbolising the third eye. Religious symbols like the Christian cross, the cross of Christ, and the commonly known satanic cross, but actually is the cross of St. Peter. There are many symbols that are related to faith that are not the cross, such as the IHS and the sigil of Lucifer. Leading away from the mainly idolized religions of Christianity and Buddhism, there are also a substantial amount of religions and cults out there. Some are non-official and some are bona fide religions, for example Scientology, Realism, which is a UFO religion, the Temple of Psychic Youth, or TOPY for short, Jediism, the religion of Star Wars, and the Creative Movement. There are so many religions with symbols, but there is one religion particularly that doesn't have a graphic symbol like other religions. It has an image. The Prince Philip movement. In the South Pacific tribe, he is counted as a god in their culture, and their symbol is an image of Prince Philip. Cultural codes don't just mean that they are just religious. They're also derived from stories such as the beckoning cat or Meniki Neko. In 17th century Tokyo, there was a priest who cared for a cat named Tama. The temple that lived was poor and dilapidated. Outside of the temple, there was a samurai walking by. As he passed the temple, a storm broke and took shelter under a tree. The The samurai noticed Tama on the other side of the road and saw Tama waving like he was being beckoned. The samurai was curious and followed Tama. The moment the samurai left cover of the tree, a bolt of lightning struck it. To repay Tama for saving his life, the samurai restored the temple. And when Tama passed away, it is said the beckoning cat was made in honor of Tama and now has become a symbol of luck in both Japanese and Chinese cultures. Alphabets are also cultural codes. Staying on the theme of Japan, the Japanese alphabet isn't really an alphabet. It's symbols for syllables. The Japanese have 3 writing systems: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. The system of sounds are represented by calligraphy. Here is a sample of the characters and sounds: ka, su, no, ba, and ri. When they are put together, they can make up words like kodo, meaning codes. The English alphabet, far from similar to the Japanese, which is the alphabet is made up of symbols representing singular sounds, A, B, and C. When they are combined, they make up syllables, which then make up words. Other cultural symbols, and ones that symbolize places: flags. National flags of countries like Wales, both the Welsh Dragon and the flag of St. David, each country having their own flag to represent themselves. America and its 50 stars to symbolize each state. Or a flag that represents multiple countries, the European flag. There is a language of flags used by ships to communicate, known as the ICS, International Code of Signals. It is made up of 26 letters and its own meaning of communicating. J for Juliet. I'm on fire and I have a dangerous cargo on board. Keep well clear of me. Or I am leaking dangerous cargo. Or W for whiskey. I require medical assistance. Codes. They are part of what we are. Without them, communicating visually wouldn't happen. There would be no system of organization to this world. Thankfully, we do have codes. The great thing about codes is that they are to be understood as an evolving language for the future.